everyone. Hope all of you are keeping well and safe. My name is Divya Daga and I'm hosting today's session organized by Seeker Mentors. And I am Alumnus founded online platform that aims to make quality mentorship more accessible and personalized. If you're new to Seeker Mentor, we are a P2P platform with more than 120 experts from diverse industries. Over the last few months, we have helped over 5,000 students through our mentorship programs and initiatives, collaborating with more than 40 institutions. We also have free resources and live courses, and you can book one-on-one session with your preferred mentor today. If you're interested to know more, of course, you can check out the link below. And a little about myself, I am a chartered accountant working in the financial services industry. Talking about what we're going to cover today, we have a very experienced guest with us to discuss an interesting yet relevant career space. In fact, I've been in that industry for a couple of years, so it's pretty exciting to talk about it. So I welcome Mr. Ashutosh Tiwari, who's currently the head of credit policy and underwriting at Razorpay. He would help us understand careers in credit and risk at fintechs, but from a lending perspective. He's done his MBA from IMI Delhi, has an experience of over 15 years, and is a very seasoned professional about the topic that we're going to discuss. So first of all, Ashutosh, thank you very much for taking out your time to share your experience and knowledge with us. I'll request you to, just tell a little more about your journey so far and what you, do at Razorpay. Over to you.
Thank you, Divya, for the very elaborate introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this session this evening. You've already given a very elaborate introduction about myself, but just to keep it very short, I have about 15 years of experience in retail and SME lending. Interestingly, these 15 years are equally spent in traditional lending setups as well as fintech startups. In the traditional lending space, I've been working with Citibank, Dhanlaxmi Bank, and then Capital First. And I started my fintech journey with Capital Float. And since then on, I've been very fortunate enough to work with very successful fintech startups like Capital Float, and then moved on to lead risk in companies like Cashcare, then spent a majority of time at Flexi Loans. And now I'm heading credit policy and underwriting at Razorpay. That's a very brief introduction about myself. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot. Actually, we are hearing a lot about fintech everywhere. So it's, the buzzword of the town. We have IPOs coming in. We're seeing fintech unicorns, and there's mad money being pumped in the sectors. So I'm sure, all these fintechs must be having this dedicated team to track and mitigate various risk factors in this particular industry. So it'll be very interesting to hear how this fast moving industry is changing the way traditional credit and risk rules are perceived. So, the first question, it would help us if you could throw some light on what's cooking in the fintech industry. How is it different? And, why is it the talk of the town right now?
Sure. That's a very pertinent question, Divya, that you ask. And let me, for your audience, try to keep it as simple as possible without any jargon. So just to start and give a very basic framework of what fintech does and what fintech is all about. So fintech, in a very simplistic term, is delivery of financial services through the able use of technology as well as data and analytics. That's how I will sum up what fintech is all about. Although the application of technology in financial services and lending is not new. So just to give an example, the ATM machine that we see around us is also a very practical example of fintech, dispensing of cash through the use of technology. Although the term is new, but the application of technology is not new. That's a very important point to notice. However, having said that, it's very important to note that the very objective of fintech is to drive friction out of the banking process. Interestingly, when I started my career 15 years back, I was told, which is even pertinent today, is that banking, in a sense, is all about 3 Ps. Right? It's all about paper, it's about process, and it's about people. And fintech, in that way, tries to optimize on all these 3 parameters. Fintech, through the use of technology and data, as I said, tries to eliminate paper from the process and makes it totally paperless. And recent government initiatives like the account aggregator will help us achieve this objective. In process, it makes the process much more customer friendly. It makes the process more intuitive. It makes the process more seamless for the customer. And in effect, it results in lesser turnaround times of processing and also reduction in transaction costs in a big way. And coming back to people, very important pillar of the financial services space, it helps people to take decisions more accurately and helps them to take better decisions. I think that in a nutshell is what the objective of fintech would be. And that's why you see all these discussions around fintech happening, as you rightly said, money pumped in the industry for a while now.
Yeah.
In that context, it's also very important to note that now we have moved from a innovation stage to a more of a early adoption stage now. It's about an 8 or 9 year old concept in India when fintech started. Primarily, if you see the whole evolution of fintech that has happened, right? What is aiding the adoption of fintech is that everything around us is moving digital because of government initiatives, changing demographics of the population, mobile penetration. All of us are interacting digitally more and more. And it's very imperative that at some point of time, the expectation from the consumer or the customer would be to emulate the experience that he has online, let's say shopping online. That same expectation would also emanate from the lending part. And hence, fintech, in many ways, tries to convert this whole borrowing experience into a buying experience. And hence, this technology becomes a huge enabler in that sense to give the same kind of experience. And that's what the whole objective of fintech, in my experience, seems to be.
Okay, yeah, that sounds, and that actually makes sense. We've been seeing that around. Okay, so another basic question, because we're talking about careers in this domain. So what is the difference between a credit and a risk role, and how would you define their day-to-day activities?
Sure, I think again, very important question, and both credit and risk terms are typically used interchangeably, and it's very important to differentiate between these two, especially from the target audience that you have. A credit role typically is an underwriting role. It's a role where a credit manager is supposed to take decisions on a case-to-case basis, primarily basis the laid down policies that he is supposed to follow. So in that ways, it's a very execution kind of a role. It's a role which is very critical in the whole scheme of things as far as lending is concerned. But think of it as a role which is more transactional, as a role which is more decentralized as a concept. Compare that to a risk manager's role. The role of a risk manager is more macro in nature. Think of risk manager's role as that of a role of a monitoring role and a supervision role. The role of a risk manager is to identify where exactly the risk lies in the portfolio, and hence is more responsible for portfolio rather than responsible for transactions, which is more of a credit underwriting role. Now, apart from only looking at stress in the portfolio, obviously through various mechanisms like early warning systems and building various risk guardrails, they're also responsible for competition benchmarking, looking at the macro trends in the economy and how does that impact the policy and the portfolio, looking at very key metrics for let's say collections, and close looping the feedback from collections and changing the policy parameters. Right? So in that ways, think of risk manager's role as a more centralized concept, whereas a credit manager's role as a more decentralized concept. Now, I'll give an example just to explain to the audience. Think of exceptions, right? So when a credit manager is doing a case or a proposal, and if there's an exception in the case, he typically takes a call basis various levels of L1, L2, L3, L4, whatever levels are defined in the policy, and he takes an exception basis that laid down guidelines. Right? The same exception is viewed very differently at a risk manager's level. A risk manager's role is to identify what percentage of the portfolio is under deviations or exceptions. What kind of exceptions have been taken? Whether those exceptions have resulted in any kind of portfolio attrition in terms of delinquencies or delay in payments, and linking and deriving trends out of it. So the role in that way becomes very different from a pure transactional role to a more strategic portfolio role. And that's basic difference between the two sources, according to me.
Okay, so just to understand it in a crisp manner. So basically, the credit underwriter is somebody who's handling a transaction when it's being sourced,
Yes.
and risk is basically once the transaction has happened, and probably we need to monitor that particular account. So that's basically the difference between the two.
That's correct.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, great. So now that we're talking about fintechs, we also want to understand, how does the roles change, in a fintech vis-a-vis you say a traditional financial services setup? And is there anything driving in the industry, say regulations or something else, which is driving the need for more credit and risk professionals in the industry?
Sure. I think the most questions that I get on LinkedIn via DMs is that what is the difference between these two roles into two different entities? And it's very important to elaborate on that. Look, in a traditional setup, the role of a credit and risk manager is very clearly laid out and very clearly cut out. The expectations, the KRAs are very well defined. And if you look at it, the scope of error is very limited. Right? They play a very critical role in the whole scheme of things in lending, in balancing the competing challenges of four things, if you ask me, in my view. And those four things are volume, speed, quality, and compliance. And hence the risk manager and the credit manager's role is very difficult, because all these four aspects make the role very exciting and interesting. However, when you talk about fintech, especially early stage fintech, the credit and the risk manager, first of all, is expected to build those very things or those very setups which he or she took for granted in his original role. There is no policy, there is no process, there is no collections team, there is no relevant metrics to track on, and hence you have to build on these guardrails yourself. So that's the first most critical role in the difference of roles that you just asked me about. Think of it in an early stage startup. It's an open canvas, right? You are expected to talk to the customers and understand the need. You will be expected to drive and build products around the same. You will be expected to build the policy and the risk guardrails around the same delivery of the product. You will also be expected to do collections. So all those things which were different silos in the previous organizations would be expected to be done by the same person who joins a fintech startup, because in the early stages you can't afford to have many people in the team in any ways, right? So that exposes you, and that gives you an opportunity to apply whatever you have learned in the past experience, to apply those in the fintech setup. It also gives you an opportunity to interact cross-functionally with various teams, which in the previous role of credit and risk managers is very limited, right? Maximum the teams will be interacting with the sales teams or the collections team or the fraud risk teams. Here, the interactions with the technology teams, the data science teams, the product teams will be very regular. And that exposure is very important to, first of all, understand how technology can impact lending in a big way, especially the domain of risk management. And also, it's very important to appreciate the challenges of other cross-functional departments as well. So you become more appreciative of the fact that what others departments also do, and how synergy between these teams can actually help in achieving the objective of what fintech is supposed to be. So in that ways, the role is very strategic. And think of it like this, right? In a fintech setup, since you would be building products, policies initially, a lot of times you would be doing a lot of experiments at the same time. These experiments, and a couple of them, would be very counterintuitive to what a credit and risk manager has done in his previous role. So the ability to have the patience to see through an experiment and learn and derive learnings from it is very important. And hence, my advice always to people who make a shift from credit and risk in a traditional setup to a fintech setup is that, first of all, you have to unlearn a lot of things that you have learned in the past and be ready to learn a lot of new things. It's a very steep learning curve, and it really focuses and forces you to think of why of various aspects, which we never thought of when in a traditional roles, when the role is very limited and is very clearly laid out. I think that's the key difference, is that it opens a very wide canvas for you to paint the picture, and that's very interesting.
Okay, yeah, that sounds interesting actually. So, now that we've understood the role, somebody wants to become a credit or risk professional. What skill sets and qualification, according to you, are necessary, and how is the market right now for such roles, basically?
So the demand for credit and risk professionals will always be there. It's a role which is very intrinsic to the whole scheme of things as far as lending is concerned. Especially in fintech, we are always looking out for people who are more objective in their thought process, are willing to take risks, are willing to take multitasking as a responsibility, as I spoke about in the last question. So the demand will always be there, and is obviously still there as far as fintech is concerned. In terms of the skill sets, qualifications question, it's unfortunate that in our country there is no particular course or curriculum which is expected to be cleared or passed by the risk managers to become an effective or become a credit and risk manager per se. Right? Credit has always been a role where you are expected to learn on the job, and that at times in our experience has proved to be a very expensive experiment in many ways. And hence, I think this imperative for the academia to now think about and introducing courses or curriculum which could be very important for the risk managers to go through before they take up this very crucial role. So that's one critical gap that I see in the industry at this point. However, coming back to the question on qualifications, I think the most acceptable qualification as far as if you see around risk and the credit managers around you is the chartered accountancy qualification and the MBA in finance qualification. So that's the most common qualifications that you would see in people having this critical role. In a credit and risk role, added qualifications like a CFA or an FRM, especially in corporate lending setups, does help. And in a risk management role, added skill sets or qualifications around data, around analytics is definitely helpful, because they need to do with data crunching all the more in their jobs. So that's primarily on the skill set bit. But having said that, the reality is that this is a role where experience matters a lot. Lending at the end of the day is a gray hair business, as we all know, and hence experience and diversity in experience is very important. I keep telling people who interact with me and my teams regularly is that try to make your experience as diverse as possible in the role. So spend a few years in collections, spend a few years in credit, spend a few years in fraud risk, spend a few years in operations risk, to understand the whole gamut of things and have a very holistic view of what risk is all about, not necessarily constrained in one particular role. Even within credit and risk management, I think one should try to have experience across products, secured, unsecured, even maybe other products as well, and also across geographies, because India itself is a very diverse country, and each sector and each state and each location brings itself a very different challenge, a very different flavor to itself. And hence, the more exposure to different geographies and products, the better risk manager or credit risk manager you can become. And hence, I think that's where my advice to people, career aspirants in this aspect would be.
Yeah, actually, I could relate to every word you said, because like I said, I have some experience working in the NBFC industry. So I know how it works. So I totally understand what you're saying, and it's actually very relevant. Once somebody is joined as a credit or risk professional, how does that person, see his or her career progression in that particular domain?
Sure. So I'll talk about both credit and risk separately, because we have separated the roles in the initial part of our discussion. So for a credit manager role, he might start as a credit analyst or a credit manager. And with the lapse of time, he might become an area credit manager, or he might become a regional, and he take up a regional, zonal / state responsibilities. And ultimately, with the lapse of time and more experience, he can aim to become a national credit manager and further aim to become a chief credit officer of his organization. So that's a very natural career path of what a credit manager could think about. In a risk management role or a risk manager role, it could start from a risk analyst role. Obviously, with the lapse of time, again, he could become a senior manager portfolio risk, and obviously graduate to become the equivalent of NCM, which is National Credit Manager, as a policy head. And the next level, obviously, and both these roles converge at the Chief Risk Officer level. Now, the Chief Risk Officer level role is a very critical role because it's not only takes care of the portfolio risk as well as the transaction risk, but it also is responsible for fraud risk, operations risk, collections. And hence my earlier point on having diversified experience across functions will obviously ultimately help you reach the level of becoming a very effective Chief Risk Officer in both the career journeys. Now, what you can obviously have transition between these roles, and the most common seen transition is from a credit manager role to a risk manager role across the board. I have seen very few shifts from a risk manager role to a credit manager role. So that's one definitely advised career move that one should definitely try to take and become a risk manager from a credit manager. However, both the roles have its own importance, and one can grow even vertically and move up the ladder as far as experience is concerned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Fine. And so this is like a bonus question. So any interview, resume, or upskilling tips that you may want to share with your the audience who is watching this right now?
Sure. Not maybe resume tips as such, because but I will definitely try to break this question down into two buckets. One is for freshers and one is for career professionals. For freshers, I think before any interview, it's very important to research the company that you are interviewing for in depth. So look at the credit rating reports of the company, look at the annual reports of the company, look at the competitive landscape of the company, and keep a few questions ready to ask the interviewer at the end of the interview. So let me give you a perspective here, right? I mean, if somebody is interviewing 10 candidates, and assuming all the 10 candidates are of equal caliber, what will differentiate one over the other is the kind of questions that the candidate has asked at the end of the interview or even during the course of the interview. So I think everybody would like to have a candidate who has researched his or her company really well and is very keen to know more about the company backed by his research. That's very important as far as the freshers interviewing in the lending space or the BFSI space is concerned. On the professional side, again, as I said, I have been talking about this in my MA sessions as well. This is a very critical question. And apart from the diversity and experience point that I talk about, I definitely would advise credit and risk managers to invest in themselves. And when I say invest in themselves, I mean both time and money. I know this is a very, very busy role. It keeps us busy throughout the month and throughout the year, but you will have to take time out to spend on books to increase your domain knowledge. You will have to take time out to attend seminars, guest lectures, watch relevant YouTube videos, attend panel discussions, attend webinars, even training sessions at your own cost if required, even if it's not being aided by your company. And you should always try to keep tab on what is the latest development in the industry. And for this, you will have to really spend and take out time for doing all this. This is very crucial, and it will keep you ahead of the curve. So that's one very crucial aspect I advise all the credit risk managers to do, is to invest in themselves. The second important point, which is very crucial in my view for this role, is the appreciation of the fact that credit and risk role is no longer a role where it's an isolated role where you're only doing number crunching. That was the case in the past. Credit risk is an evolving science, and the role expectations have changed drastically from monitoring, control, supervision to more of an enabler today. And hence, it is very important for a credit and risk manager to be an effective communicator and also realize the fact that the risk management role today is as much about being very thorough with domain specialties, but it's also as much as a people role today. A lot of times, risk, although it might be evident, has to be told and explained. And that requires a very high level of communication skills to communicate effectively with all the stakeholders to make them appreciative of the risk that you want to communicate. Even otherwise, right? Risk nowadays is a cross-functional collaboration role. And for you to effectively collaborate with other teams, it's very important to be a good people manager and an effective communicator also. And I think that's a very important piece which all credit and risk managers should focus on in the times to come.
True. I actually, when you said about the cross-functional capabilities, right? Actually, that's a very important skill when it comes, because, for getting a transaction executed, especially for credit people, you have to deal with the legal team, you have to deal with the operations team, a couple of teams to deal with. So yeah, so you need to have that people skill. Totally agree. Great. Absolutely. I think, Ashutosh, that was fantastic. And it was super interesting to hear about all that you said. I think it's a less spoken topic and you made it very easy to understand for all of us. So thank you so much for joining in and, sharing your experience with us.
Thank you so much. And I think C-Commenter is a great platform, and it's a great initiative towards connecting career aspirants to industry professionals for mentorship and guidance. And I think this is a very great initiative. And it's the need of the hour. I hope and I wish all the success to the C-Commenter team, so as they can reach out to maximum amount of native learners and bring them on the platform. So I think thumbs up to you for this initiative, Divya.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ashutosh, for those kind words. So to all the viewers, we would love to hear your suggestions on what content or topics you would like us to cover. Please do drop in the comment section whatever suggestions you have. C-Commenter is also planning to have a lot of more interesting conversations in the upcoming weeks, so please stay tuned. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram to ensure you do not miss out on any updates on the upcoming sessions. So all the links you can find below the video. So thanking Ashutosh again for his valuable time, and thanking everybody from all of us at C-Commenter. Have a great day. Thanks, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.